Halifax, Nova Scotia is a port city rich in beauty and history. It's known for its quality of life, great public spaces, and friendly people. It's a fun place to visit any time of year, and it's the place I call home. I'm Laura Bain. Join me as we tour one of Canada's oldest breweries.
We have a newspaper article from just a few years ago when a local diver actually found a partially filled bottle of Alexander Keith's beer that was 125 years old.
Oh, wow.
Visit one of the most beautiful libraries in the world.
One of the things that people tell me when they enter is that they walk in and they immediately, there's a transparency to the building. They can see around the building. It gives an immediate sense of welcome.
And meet Halifax's town crier.
God bless the mayor in Halifax!
This is Postcards from Halifax. Halifax is known for its beaches and increasingly for its waves. Some surfers, like Jan Lapierre, even surf in the dead of winter.
So Jan, what are the surf conditions like today?
Well, we're here at beautiful Lordstown Beach. The sun is shining, beautiful waves coming in. That's the beauty of winter surfing, is that all these storms that come through kick in really great waves. You can see there's a fair bit of people out there even right now, so I'm pretty excited to get out there.
Awesome, and it's really cold right now. It's about -10. I'm all bundled up. What do you have on to keep warm?
So this is a winter wetsuit. It's 6 millimeters thick, and the gloves and boots are both 8 millimeters thick. Now, a wetsuit is designed to get wet. So when I get out there, the water gets in. For a second it feels a little chilly, and then your body temperature warms that water up in between you and the suit, and it actually becomes really quite cozy.
Okay, well, you get in there. I'll take your word for it. I'm gonna watch here from the shore.
Fair enough.
Earlier at Jan's home, he offered me some insight into surfing in the winter.
For most of us who surf, we can almost look forward to the winter time more than the summer because there's more consistent waves. I'll admit that it is a little bit of a niche activity that way. But what we do have here is a lot of variety. You know, we have everything from beautiful sandy beaches to, if you're a surfer and you're looking for something a little bit more advanced, we have point breaks and reef breaks and all these other different things. But beyond a doubt, the thing that's the most special here is the community. It's the people.
Today there are a dozen or so surfers braving the cold with Jan.
The water temperature in the ocean never goes below really 1 degree, or else it would freeze, or in the case of salt water, it needs to be -2 or 3 for it to freeze. So even though the air temperature is -10, -15, or what have you, the ocean temperature is really, even right now, actually about 4 or 5 degrees. So when you're in it and you're submersed in it, you're actually a lot warmer than you would expect to be, because the suit does such a great job and the water temperature is warmer than the air. Waves are a precious entity, and this is, I think, really why surfing is so unique, and really when someone becomes interested in it, it almost becomes a bit of an obsession, because waves are finite. And then there you are riding that thing, and no one wave is like another. You know, each wave is almost like a snowflake in that kind of sense, that everyone is different.
Surfing connects Jan to the big picture.
I think the thing that matters the most to me is that the ocean is one of our most precious resources on this planet. And I don't even like to use the word resource. I would say it's something that's so fundamental to not only humans, but all life on Earth. I mean, we wouldn't be a planet filled with wonderful creatures if we didn't have the ocean. But I think today, in 2020, it's even more important because, as climate change becomes more of a priority in people's lives, the more time you spend in nature, the more time you have to learn to respect it and to love it. And when you are in there, and I have been in many places in the world to surf, many places that I've been have been very polluted. And thankfully here in Nova Scotia, a lot of our coastline is still fairly pristine, and I'd love for it to stay that way.
Jan, how was it?
Oh, it was so much fun. Conditions are excellent right now. Lovely group of people who are out there. Tons of fun. So much that I might actually get back in.
Well, I can hear lots of waves crashing around us, so you enjoy that, and I'm gonna go get warm, and maybe I'll give it a try in the summer.
The ocean always welcomes you. Come back anytime.
Another very welcoming place in Halifax happens to be one of my favorites, the Halifax Seaport Farmers Market. It's housed in a former seaport terminal right on the waterfront, across from George's Island, a tiny island with a small lighthouse. Founded in 1750, it's the oldest continually operating farmers market in North America.
The market is filled with vendors selling everything you can make, bake, catch, or grow. It's a great place to come on the weekend and pick up some goodies.
From farm stands and pastries to handcrafted jewelry and bath bombs, there's a lot to explore. Haligonians love coming here.
The vendors are personal. It's all mom and pop operations. They're unique.
The market has a lot of different food from different cultures that we really like to explore. So we usually get some dumplings from Shaylin. We like the African food. We're big fans of goat.
Everyone has their favorite vendors. Bliss Bowls is a relative newcomer to the market, and I've been eager to try their vegan smoothie bowls. Each one is like a little work of art. No surprise, Bliss Bowls shines on Instagram. Toppings like hemp seeds, fresh fruit, and coconut, plus a variety of sauces arranged in pleasing designs make these bowls very appealing. Laura McLeod is co-owner.
So the two smoothie bowl flavors, we have the Gratitude Bowl and the Ocean Bowl. The Ocean Bowl is kind of tropical flavors, so it has mango and pineapple and banana. It's a little bit sweeter. And the Gratitude Bowl is mixed berry base with spinach, and so it's not quite as sweet.
Oh, those sound really fun.
I opt for the Ocean Bowl. It's topped with rows of granola, coconut, chia seeds, and finished with a fan of apple slices and a drizzle of caramel tahini sauce.
All set, there you go.
Looks beautiful. I can't wait to try it.
I grab a seat by the window and settle in to indulge. With a bit of sweetness, this Bliss Bowl is delicious, nutritious smoothie goodness. The market is also host to craftspeople of all kinds. Donna Hopper of Ashworks Kitchen Accessories handcrafts her products out of wood. The cutting boards catch my attention.
We make almost everything out of Canadian white ash.
Each board is different and features patterns from geometric and checkboard to straight and curved lines.
And we work with the different parts of the tree. So the white ash tree has a nice dark heart to it. The sapwood around the outside of the tree is nice and light. And I take the sapwood and the heartwood and I book match and mirror image to create the patterns that you see here. It makes a really dramatic design, and it's unique to white ash. We call them heirloom cutting boards. They'll last a lifetime.
Yeah, it seems almost too beautiful to use for a cutting board.
We have a lot of people say that.
One market hazard is the number of food samples. You can't walk by the Maritime Gourmet Nut Company and owner Bob Dunsworth without a taste.
Do you have something spicy I can try?
Oh yes. What do you like? I got a 1X here. It's a peanut. And I also have a cereal mix that's hot. They're both done a little bit differently. But the peanut, I have 2 different levels of heat right now. I have a third one, but I sold out. It's a 3X. It's really hot. We call it stupid hot.
Well, this one, the 1X, has got a little bit of a kick to it, so I can only imagine the 3X.
After all those samples, I could use a drink. Luckily, there are many beer and spirit vendors here at the market. Like Steinhardt Distillery, an award-winning craft distillery based in Antigonish County, Nova Scotia. Michael O'Donnell takes me through the product line.
What do you have here?
We have spirits, vodka, gin, rum, and liqueur.
What do you have for flavored gin?
Flavored gin, our best-selling product, or our best-selling bottle, would be our rhubarb gin.
I'd love to try that.
Yeah, the rhubarb? Sure thing.
Ooh, that's nice. I don't know if I would have right away said it's rhubarb.
Rhubarb.
I don't know if I would have known that.
Yeah, it is a little warmer as well. We keep all of our gins at 47.5% alcohol, so you still get all that warmth up front. Then about midway through, you get that rhubarb flavor.
It's a good way to start the morning.
The market is also a great place for a coffee date, and we've got one with local award-winning author Sarah Sawler. Sarah has written several regional bestsellers, including 100 Things You Don't Know About Nova Scotia.
So Sarah, thank you for meeting with me. I wanted to meet up with you because I understand that you know a lot about Halifax, that you know a lot of fascinating facts.
Well, I'm so glad you did reach out because I love talking about Halifax. I love talking about random facts and telling stories about places' history.
Okay, so let's get into it.
All right.
So Halifax is one of the oldest cities in Canada, and it's been the site of a lot of firsts. So did you come across any interesting firsts?
Well, the first coffee house that was licensed was owned by William Piggott, and that was just over on Argyle Street, not far from where we are right now.
And so something that Halifax is known for today is drinking establishments.
Yes.
And I'm going to guess that that has always been the case.
Well, actually, I was doing a little bit of research before we talked today because I wanted to just check and see if anything's changed. So although we do now have the second most pubs per capita in Canada of any city in Canada, I think St. John's holds the record for that right now. It wasn't until the 1970s, or mid-1970s, that women and men could drink together in taverns. Women had their own places to drink. And they changed it in the 1970s because they decided that women would be a good influence on the men in the tavern.
Keep them in line.
Apparently they thought it would keep them in line.
So I heard that you uncovered some interesting facts about pirates. And of course, Halifax is on the water. It's a port city, so that makes sense. So what did you find out about pirates and Halifax?
Well, everyone is fascinated by pirates, including me. So when I started writing this book and those articles, of course, I gravitated towards them. One of the things that I found that I thought was quite interesting is that the last piracy trial was actually held here in Halifax in 1844. And that was the trial of Edward Jordan. And he was sentenced because he had actually boarded someone else's, it was a merchant schooner. He had boarded and he had actually slaughtered, most of the crew. Somebody managed to escape and then ended up contacting the Royal Navy. They put out an alert. And Edward Jordan was, I would assume, arrested, whatever the Royal Navy's procedures would have been at that time.
Right.
And he ended up being hung on Blackrock Beach over in Point Pleasant Park, which is one of the places where pirates were commonly hung. And his remains actually hung there for 20 years.
That's crazy and disgusting.
Yeah, it is.
Would he have been coated in, he just would have been.
They tarred him.
Okay, as a warning to other pirates
That's
for
exactly
all
what it
to
was.
see. This will happen to you, will be tarred and hung and left on Blackrock Beach.
For 20 years. That's exactly what it was.
Well, you said that was the last trial, so perhaps it was effective.
It might have worked.
So, do you think that you've uncovered everything that there is to know about Halifax, or do you still have more facts to uncover?
Absolutely not. There's still so much more to uncover.
And so many new things that are happening that will become interesting facts.
Exactly.
Postcards from Halifax will be right back. Welcome back to Postcards from Halifax. I'm Laura Bain. Surrounded by sparkling ocean, the city of Halifax has always been known for its incredible seafood, but over the last few years, its food scene has grown tremendously, making it a destination for foodies and food artisans alike. If you find yourself in Halifax craving something sweet, we've got just the place for you, Fortune Donut. With over 10,000 Instagram followers, their handmade gourmet donuts featuring over-the-top decorations and flavors appeal to all of the senses. I'm at the donut shop to meet up with production manager Mandy Dunning.
Basically, when you walk in, you're hit in the face with a whole bunch of really bright, bold colors. A lot of the walls are decorated in a lot of donut, fortune teller, circusy kind of artwork up on the walls. So it's just a really fun environment to walk into, and kids love it.
But most are immediately drawn to the display of donuts, stuffed, sprinkled, drizzled, or dipped in an eye-popping array of colors and flavors.
You guys sometimes have some really crazy, off-the-wall flavors. I know you have banana nerds today, and there's one yesterday, cotton candy crunch. How do you come up with the flavors?
Honestly, it's us hanging out in the back and talking and researching things.
Mandy and her team come up with an ever-changing menu of delicious donuts like birthday confetti cake Oreo, peanut butter and jam with chocolate, vanilla sundae party, and moon mist, a uniquely East Coast combination of grape, banana, and bubblegum.
What's been the most popular donut you guys have made?
The moon mist has been flying off the shelves lately.
How many donuts do you guys sell in the run of a day?
Different points of the week are probably a little bit different, but for a Saturday, the Saturday coming up, we're going to be doing roughly 2,000 donuts.
That's a lot of donuts to get ready. Mandy offers me the chance to try my hand at it.
So Mandy, what do we have here in front of us on the table?
Okay, so to start, we've got our the base of the yeast donut. And then from there, you would take your donut, dip it into our fondant or glaze or whatever you're deciding to do with it. And then you can take your toppings, like we've got some Reese's Pieces, Score Bits, Reese's Cups, Nerds, regular sprinkles, little chocolate pieces. You can dip it into that, sprinkle it on there. And then we've also got things like butterscotch, caramel, chocolate, things to drizzle on top.
Wow, amazing. Okay, and you picked banana fondant because I said that was a flavor that I liked. All right, so why don't you show me how it's done?
Okay, so basically what you would start doing is you would mix up your fondant. They usually sit in little hot warmers so that it stays warm. So you'd mix it up just to make sure that you kind of get it a little sticky there. You take your donut and you kind of drop it in. I do a little bit of a twist just to kind of make sure it's on there.
You're just dipping the one side of it?
Yeah, you just dip the one side, and then you can take a little bit of an offset here, and you kind of got your cool little thing here, and then you can either rim it or dip half of it or however you want. Then you can kind of take some chocolate, just do a little drizzle over top, and you got a banana chocolate peanut butter donut.
Okay, that sounds amazing. I'm gonna give it a try. It's gonna be way messier.
Absolutely.
I try to dip it in the fondant like Mandy did, but it comes out less than perfect.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that's okay. It's okay. We can fix it.
Mandy uses an offset spatula to fix my mess. Then I copy her by going for the Reese's Pieces.
Whoa, okay. It's covered in Reese's Pieces.
Mandy's donut is perfection. Mine is a monster that I top with caramel sauce.
Looks beautiful.
Okay, so all that's left to do is give this a try.
Yes, absolutely.
It looks like it's gonna be really, really messy. Mmm, that is so fresh.
Yeah.
Crunchy with the Reese's Pieces.
Kind of get all the little textures in there.
The fondant is still a little warm. I think that's a winner.
Yeah.
Speaking of winners, our next hotspot was the recipient of a Lieutenant Governor's Design Award in Architecture in 2014 and a Governor General's Medal in Architecture in 2016. The Halifax Central Library is a striking modern building. Some say the off-center angles of the 5-story glass building make it look like a stack of books. For an insider's tour, we're meeting up with Chief Librarian and CEO Osa Kachin.
So we are on the main floor of Halifax Central Library in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And one of the things that people tell me when they enter is that they walk in and they immediately, there's a transparency to the building. They can see around the building, they see people everywhere they look. It gives an immediate sense of welcome because it is full of people everywhere. And that's a perfect message to people that they're free to roam, they're free to explore.
Yeah, and that's how it feels, is like a space where everybody might be welcome. I'm wondering if you can tell me on the first floor here what there is for people to do.
We have a range of public use computers. We have Paul O'Regan Hall, which hosts a myriad of events. So one day it might be a university lecture, the next day it might be a symphony concert for free, or it might be Margaret Atwood, who was here earlier this year. We have this fascinating system where people return the books through the book slot, and then they can see it go up and come through the ceiling of the library, and they can then come and peek through the window into our circulation room and see where it comes out. It's a little bit like Charlie's Chocolate Factory. And we also have a small cafe. So gone are the days when you'd get kicked out of the public library for bringing your cup of coffee. Now you can actually get your cup of coffee at the library and a sandwich, and you could have a pizza delivered here if you needed to. So we have become very food friendly.
And we have this beautiful installation behind us called Library Cards. So I'm wondering what you can tell me about that.
So before Central Library was opened, we put out a call to artists, and the winning artist was an artist named Cliff Aylen, and he has created this wonderful installation of 5,000 essentially 5,000 individual art pieces that are installed like cards on a wall.
Yeah, and it's huge, so you could spend a lot of time kind of looking through it.
That's right.
Osa and I head upstairs, using some of the many beautiful crisscross staircases and walkways that span the interior. With skylights above us as we climb, we stop on the 4th floor of the 5-story building.
So Osa, can you tell me where we are now?
And behind us, of course, is the beautiful atrium. So this is a lovely place to stand. You get the sunlight shining in on you, but then you also have that ability to peek down and watch life unfold.
So can you tell me a little bit about what the vision was for this library?
So this library was really designed to reflect the aspirations of our community. There was a lot of conversation about the kind of city we want to be. So can we create a public space that houses all of our aspirations for the future of Halifax, for the way we want to live together with one another? So not so much the books, videos, picture books piece. It was more the aspiration of the life we wanted to share that really defined the space. So people talked about they wanted something that was environmentally sound, so this is a LEED Gold building. They talked about creativity, they talked about serendipity, so the idea of building a space where, of course, it has what you expect, but when you come in, you'll probably discover something unexpected.
Library goers are allowed to move the furniture. There's a space for everyone, whether you're looking for solitude or to socialize.
Can you tell me about the First Nations Circle and why that was important?
We knew in the building of this building that we wanted to acknowledge that we were built on the land of the Mi'kmaq people. So we worked with the Mi'kmaq community, and we have a lovely First Nations Circle on the 3rd floor of the library. It's a circular seating area that is open, and it's open to the east, and it has an 8-pointed star built into the flooring in the midst of the circle. So designed using colors that have strong meaning for the Mi'kmaq community.
The library is one of the most physically accessible buildings in Halifax, with features like spacious elevators and washrooms, braille signs, and tactile indicator strips. The seamless integration of these elements make it feel like a welcome space for all. Our final stop on the tour is the 5th floor, a favorite space for many visitors. It feels like a quiet space today, so we put on our librarian voices.
So we're in the living room right now. Why is this called the living room?
So this is called the living room because it is the space, it's sort of the lounge where people can come and spend time. It is also visually one of the most beautiful, beautiful parts of the building. And by naming it the living room was a way for us to note that everybody is welcome here.
Surrounded by windows, the living room offers a $1 million view of downtown Halifax, including the harbor, at no cost.
Well, it seems like a perfect place for us to end, so thank you so much for the tour.
Oh, you're welcome anytime.
Postcards from Halifax will be right back. Welcome back to Postcards from Halifax. I'm Laura Bain. One of Halifax's great public spaces is the Grand Parade. Located in the heart of the city and commonly referred to by locals as Parade Square, it was originally designed as a public and military drill square. At the north end, you'll find Halifax City Hall. Built in the late 1800s, the elegant 3-story sandstone building has a 7-story clock tower with bells that ring every 15 minutes. Grand Parade dates back to the founding of Halifax in 1749, so it's a great place to soak in some history. In fact, the oldest building in Halifax, St. Paul's Church, is right behind me at the square's south end. Built in 1750, St. Paul's is the oldest surviving Protestant church in Canada and is a designated National Historic Site. The church played an important role as an emergency medical site and temporary morgue after nearly 2,000 residents were killed in the Halifax explosion in 1917. Approaching the church from Argyle Street, you can take in a Hali-famous oddity, the face in the window. Surrounded by mystery, the story is that at the moment of the blast, a church deacon was standing by the window and the heat forever etched his image in the glass. Grand Parade is used year-round for outdoor public events. I know what that bell means. That's town crier Will Brewer. Let's go meet up with him.
Oh, yay!
Town criers date back to the 18th century.
God bless the mayor in Halifax!
Halifax has kept the tradition alive. Today, the town crier's main role is ceremonial and to make announcements at special events. So Will, you're Halifax's town crier, is that right?
That is correct.
Can you tell me about the very fancy outfit that you have on today?
Of course, it's an 18th century livery made out of wonderful fabric with the gold buttons, well, of course, a lot of red, and white and black, so yeah.
Yeah, it's very ornate looking, and you've got on the, is it called a tricorn hat, the three-pointed hat?
That is correct.
So what made you want to be a town crier?
The reason why I wanted to be the town crier because I'm not just a strong advocate for Down syndrome, but also in the disabled community. But also the reason why is because I've been a public speaker, and now I'm doing it louder than ever.
You definitely are doing it louder than ever. I've noticed that you have one heck of a set of pipes on you, and you sort of need to be a good crier. So what do you think makes a good crier?
Well, you want to have a great voice box, good stature, well, almost like me. You can be off script, but not always.
So can I give it a try?
Of course.
Okay, I'll take your bell here and just give it a nice big ring and
yeah.
Oyez, oyez.
As much as you can.
Oyez, oyez!
Awesome.
What do you think? Do I have what it takes?
You did a good job from my standing.
Alexander Keith started brewing beer in Halifax back in the 1820s. I'm at the historic Keith's Brewery, which is one of the oldest in Canada, to take a tour, learn some history, and best of all, taste some beer. I'm Laura.
Hi, nice to meet you.
You too.
Welcome to Alexander Keith's Nova Scotia Brewery.
I meet my first tour guide, Christian, in a recreation of Keith's original study with the addition of a few beer taps.
So this is our India Pale Ale, and that is the brew responsible for Mr. Keith's incredible legacy, if you'd like to give it a sip.
Absolutely. Nice and refreshing. It's a good way to start the tour. Alexander Keith emigrated to Nova Scotia from Scotland and started his brewery at the age of 25. He also became a respected local citizen and was city mayor several times.
We have a number of interesting artifacts in here. On the wall right next to the stairs, we actually have his authentic 200-year-old master brewing certificate.
Oh, nice.
So Laura, now we are on the timeline, and we've got a number of artifacts up here. So the first I'd like to point out is we have a replica of Alexander Keith's watch, and it is actually inset with sapphires, and each of those sapphires is meant to represent one of his children and his wife. And just over here at the end, we have a newspaper article from just a few years ago when a local diver actually found a partially filled bottle of Alexander Keith's beer that was 125 years old.
Oh, wow. Then I meet up with my next tour guide, Sophie, to learn about the beer making process.
So welcome to the office of our brewmaster, Stefan Gagliardi. This is where he likes to experiment with ingredients for all of his new creations.
And so you have a lot of jars of things around, and I can smell lots of aromas in here.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing this is just like where you have all the different things that might go into making the different flavors of your beer.
Absolutely, yeah, lots of different ingredients, and every beer will be a bit different as well.
Keith's commercial beers are made elsewhere. This historic building site is now dedicated to making small batch craft brews.
Now the main ingredients that go into making beer will be pure water. Then the next one is malted barley, and I have some here if you'd like to try some.
Yeah, sure, I'll give that a taste.
Great.
Just like a little seed type thing.
Yeah, it's a cereal grain. It's been germinated a little bit.
Crunchy.
And then the next ingredient that we add is going to be hops, and I have some here as well that you can smell if you like.
Yeah, so that to me smells really citrusy, maybe like some grapefruit.
Absolutely, yeah. Citrus and sort of a floral scent or aroma is usually the main things that people get from hops.
Sophie takes me through the high-ceilinged brew house.
This is where the art and the science of brewing will come together to create the beer we make here.
Keith's craft beers are often locally inspired, and I'm eager to try some. I finish my tour in the stone-walled tasting room, where there's a ceilidh or maritime music party in full swing. But first things first, I stop at the bar and order a brew from Stephanie.
This is our Argyle Brut IPA. Back in the day when the Lower Water Street Brewery was being built, Alexander Keith was operating out of a brewery on Argyle Street in downtown Halifax. It's clocking in at 6% alcohol by volume and 30 IBUs. That stands for International Bittering Units.
Okay, I'll give it a try. It smells nice and light.
Yeah. You roll it around your mouth, see the flavor, the body.
That's nice and bubbly and just has like a light fruity taste. This is definitely one that I could easily enjoy a whole glass of.
We're glad you enjoyed it.
My tour is just a small taste of what you can expect on the Keith's Brewery tour. Finishing my beer, I can't help but think about Alexander Keith and the fact that his beer legacy lives on some 200 years later. Stay tuned, Postcards from Halifax will return. I'm Laura Bain, and this is Postcards from Halifax. The large hill overlooking the harbour led the British military to found the city of Halifax here in 1749 on unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Many early settlers built their homes around the base of what is now called Citadel Hill, and it's fair to say it's still at the heart of the city. The current fortification is the fourth to be built and is known as Fort George. From May to October, the Parks Canada site is busy with historical reenactors and visitors. The fort is open year-round, and on the day I visit, I take a quiet, snowy walk inside the garrison and climb up a rampart for a better view. The empty grounds have an eerie feel, and the old fort has been the site of many reported ghost sightings. Visiting Halifax Citadel National Historic Site is a must-do during any trip to Halifax. Most Haligonians living or working downtown enjoy the area of the hill outside of the fort walls. Its slopes are popular for sledding in the winter and lounging in the summer. Many runners and walkers head up the hill daily for a bit of exercise and a spectacular view of the city. But be wary if you do so at 12 noon, because the noonday gun can really give you a startle. Well, I'm awake. Let's head back down the hill. On the east side of the hill, you'll find the town clock, one of Halifax's most iconic landmarks. The clock is a 3-story tower built atop a 1-story white clapboard building which used to house the clock's caretaker. The town clock has been keeping time in Halifax since 1803. The Africville Museum is a little off the beaten track, but it's a place every visitor to Halifax should check out. Africville was one of Canada's first black settlements, and it stood here on the shores of the Bedford Basin. The museum is housed in a reconstruction of Seaview United Baptist Church, and that's where I've arranged to meet up with Africville Museum Executive Director Juanita Peters.
The community of Africville has been on the shores of the Bedford Basin since the late 1700s. The people who lived there came after the American Revolution, the War of 1812, and black refugees. It was a very unique community in that it was small, contained, it had businesses of its own, it had its own post office, and people worked and thrived in Africville. Everybody knew everybody, and so when people talk about their life in Africville, they talk about the comforts of Africville, of living on the shores, of eating out of the Bedford Basin, of knowing everybody that was in every household.
But discrimination made things difficult. Despite the fact that residents of Africville paid taxes, the city of Halifax failed to provide even the most basic municipal services.
There was no running water, there was no garbage pickup, all the things you would normally get with paying your taxes. Paved roads, how simple is that?
And even though the residents asked for those services, the city refused and went on to add insult to injury.
Over time, there were a number of things that were built and put around the village of Africville. Things like the abattoir, the infectious disease hospital, the open dump, things that nobody would want in their community. And of course, over time, it starts to devalue the property.
In 1964, without meaningful consultation with residents, the city made the decision to relocate the residents of Africville and bulldoze the community.
Why did the city want them to move?
At that time, the narrative that was given to people was that they were moved in the name of urban renewal. However, if you look around today and look over the land, you'll see that not much has happened since the dislocation. And so that is also very painful for residents as well. One of the things that people still talk about as the painful part of that dislocation is not just how much they were devalued in what they were given for their property, but how they were moved. So they talk about being moved out in the city garbage trucks. So, you know, you add insult to injury and add to the trauma.
What effect did it have on people where they were moved to? What impact did that have on people being split up?
Sure. The impact is great. It's a grand impact in that people are removed from each other and the safety and security of each other. Your life has changed, so you've built over generations a community and households, and now you're living in something that's not yours. So a lot of people moved into public housing. Instead of being surrounded by these beautiful waters and the scenery that you see today and was there then, they are now surrounded by a lot of pavement and brick and cement and just not the quality of life that you would have when you're in a safe community.
The museum preserves the history of Africville through photographs, artifacts, and listening stations, which offer visitors the chance to hear archival stories from the community.
Why do you think that it's important for people to learn about Africville and what happened to it?
I think it's important for people to understand and know Canadian history, first and foremost. Really important to understand the role that African Nova Scotians have played in establishing Nova Scotia, and the role that we have played, the history as long as we have been here. You know, I'm 8th generation African Nova Scotian, and not too many people can say that.
In 2010, the city of Halifax officially apologized for the destruction of Africville. And today, every summer the site is host to former residents and their families for a reunion that celebrates the history and enduring legacy of the community of Africville. Now it's time to hit the water. The Halifax-Dartmouth Ferry is a great and inexpensive way to see the city. The ride takes about 12 minutes, and you'll be treated to views at the harbour, the McDonald Bridge, and 2 city skylines. The Halifax-Dartmouth Ferry began operation in 1752 and is the oldest saltwater ferry in North America. The top deck is outside, great for good weather and taking in the salty air. There's also an inside bottom deck that's accessible and has a spot for bicycles. The ferries travel back and forth frequently, but we aren't headed back to Halifax just yet. There's lots to explore in downtown Dartmouth. Once a separate city, Dartmouth is now part of Halifax. There was a time when Dartmouth was regarded as a little rough around the edges. It even earned the nickname the Dark Side. But things have changed.
Within the last decade, an explosion of new rental developments and locally owned shops have made downtown Dartmouth the place to live or visit. Some even call it the Brooklyn of Halifax.
Restaurants like the Canteen, the Portland Street Creperie, and Lake City Cider, all on Portland Street, are often packed. Another fun place to visit is the New Scotland Yard Emporium. Multiple Juno Award-winning singer-songwriter Joel Plaskett is the owner.
I've been working on Portland Street since 2012 or 13 now, and so I've kind of watched it change a lot over the last number of years. It's been nice to be part of it.
Can you tell me a little bit about the new Scotland Yard for the studio space that you opened?
Yeah, well, the space we're in here, this is my recording studio. It's a commercial space. Like, I have a guy who runs the place, and I built it so that I would have a place to work, but also that it could be a place that other musicians could rent if they wanted to make a record.
Aside from the studio, the new Scotland Yard Emporium is also a cafe and record store.
Music for me is the sort of is the world I inhabit, and so having a musical space and then a shop that sells music, and where often musicians come in, or there's people talking music, there's records on all the time. That's nice. And so records and coffee to me sort of go hand in hand.
You obviously could have chosen to move away, go to Toronto. Why is it that you chose to stay and create a life here?
The community here has been supportive of what I do. So I felt really fortunate to have dug in my heels here and to have had an audience and a community that's supported me on a musical level, but also on a business level. I think it's always been, Dartmouth, from a Halifax point of view, was always had sort of the dark side or whatever. But I think for people who've lived here, I got the impression that there was always a sense of pride in the place, but also a kind of like, hey, don't tell too many people.
I leave Joel to finish my downtown Dartmouth walking tour. I can't miss getting one of the famous croissants from 2F by C Cafe on Ochterlony Street.
Could I get a croissant, please?
Sure. So good, but now I need to burn some calories. From downtown Dartmouth, you can hook on to one of the city's nicest accessible walking trails. The Dartmouth Harbour Walk runs along the water and offers amazing views of the Halifax skyline. The 3.8-kilometer trail ends next to the Woodside Ferry Terminal, another ferry which, conveniently, runs back and forth to Halifax. Postcards from Halifax will be right back. I'm Laura Bain, and this is Postcards from Halifax. The Halifax waterfront is full of interesting stops, and one of them is Nova Scotian Crystal. Customer experience representative Stacey Latham Murphy welcomes me into their sparkling showroom of glassware.
What do you think it is about the crystal that is so special to people?
Yeah, I really think it is the handmade nature of our product. This is the only place that you can see crystal being made like this in Canada, so it really kind of brings the whole thing to life.
Nova Scotian Crystal was started by a group of Irish immigrants who wanted to preserve this ancient and vanishing craft.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what goes on here?
So we start with our pot, and the pot is the vessel that melts the raw material. Our raw material is melted to about 13 to 1400 degrees Celsius, so very hot. You have to like the heat to work here for sure. And then our craftsmen work in a team, so of either 3 to 5 people depending on what they're making. Our craftsmen use blowing irons to actually create the shape using their breath as well. And then they drop it into a mold, and then that's going to create the final shape of the piece. The piece is then cooled in our annealing oven. Then we have to go through a variety of finishing processes to make sure that the pieces are ready for our cutters.
Crystal cutting requires extreme precision. One piece might have up to several hundred cuts. Kieran Bowles is a master cutter.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the cutting process?
Yeah, the cutting process is we use industrial diamond wheels and water. The pattern is in our memory and in our mind and stuff. And there's different angles you can take, and that's what all about being an apprentice, how deep to go in each cut so they're all the same depth, and it's just a lot of time and effort to learn it.
How did you get into working with crystal?
My father was a master crystal maker in Waterford Crystal in Ireland, and when he retired from Waterford, he had his own small crystal place in Ireland, so I learned there just out of the fact of availability. So I started when I was about 14 part-time, and then full-time at 18, and then it was tough times in Ireland around that time, and we moved all the equipment over here with other craftsmen and stuff, so I guess I came with the equipment.
Kieran shows me a glass with a locally inspired pattern called Citadel.
What type of pattern would this be that's in here?
Okay, it's down here, the crisscross patterns are called Caro, And that you describe that as any pattern that crosses over itself. And then these straight long cuts are uprights.
Right, and so obviously Citadel, big connection to Halifax here, and so just this seems like a very sort of clean, simple pattern.
Yeah, very traditional, and the uprights were kind of representing like soldiers standing upright, standing guard on the Citadel Hill.
This glass is very hefty. When you when you handed it to me, I have to say, like, this really has a lot of weight in your hand, and that's probably something that people really notice when they come and pick up the pieces.
Yes, especially for full lead crystal. We're full lead crystal, so it adds weight to it, and it's just value for your money.
Exactly.
A piece or a set of Nova Scotian crystal might make the perfect souvenir from your trip to Halifax. Or, if you're on a budget, I've got a spot where you can take a postcard-worthy selfie. Just an hour's drive from downtown Halifax is Peggys Cove, a picturesque fishing village and popular tourist spot. Peggys Point Lighthouse, built in 1915, has made this one of the most photographed locations in Canada.
Walking along the rocks is a popular activity here, but be careful. Many tourists have lost their lives by getting too close to the edge, being hit by a powerful wave, and getting swept out into the ocean. The rule is to only walk on the dry, white rocks and to stay off of the black rocks, as advised by many posted signs.
Depending on the time of year you visit, a tour of the village is a fun activity. It's a small place with fishing boats, colorful houses, and a restaurant. Peggys Cove is a special place. But I've got one more spot in Halifax I want to show you.
The Amera Oval is open year-round. In the summer, Haligonians come here to enjoy activities like cycling, roller skating, and skateboarding, while in the winter, it's the smooth ice that's the big draw.
The spacious track is the size of 3 NHL hockey rinks, making it the largest artificially refrigerated ice surface east of Quebec City. The Oval has a ton of equipment available to rent at no cost, and they've put an emphasis on accessibility. I catch up with Shauna Moulton, aquatic and leisure specialist with Parks and Recreation, to learn more.
Shauna, can you tell me what kind of adaptive equipment you have here at the Oval?
So here at the Oval we have 4 specific pieces of adapted equipment. We have our sledge, which is the same sled used for sledge hockey. That can be self-propelled with the sticks, or someone could push the person behind them. We also have, for the snow, we have a kick sled. So it's a wooden seat with runners, and the person can push behind them and then actually have the opportunity to sort of jump on the rails when you get going, so they can glide along with you. We have a snow coach that's very similar and is more of a bucket seat, so it's more comfortable to sit in. And we also have a hippocamp, which is wonderful. We have a snow blade for that, or just the wheels.
And how else have you guys tried to make the Oval an accessible place?
Well, we've recently installed a Hoyer lift, so that now someone could come down and hook their sling up and transport from their wheelchair to the sledge or one of our other pieces of equipment. And we also have our accessible washroom is down at the end of our hallway, and everything is on one level.
What sort of feedback have you gotten from people that are using the equipment?
Oh, we're getting a ton of positive feedback. A little bit of disappointment that we haven't been getting much snow in Halifax to enjoy our kick sleds and snow coaches, but we have a free Learn to Sledge program on Saturday mornings. People can register for online, and that's been hugely popular.
I decide to swap my government-issued ID for a pair of size 8 figure skates. It's a bit crowded, but I managed to borrow one of the staff to be my guide. It's a beautiful day for a skate.
Once you do a couple laps,
exactly.
you feel so much better.
Although you start to feel it in your ankles.
Definitely.
The Amera Oval is a great place to end my Halifax travel log. If you're planning a trip here, I hope I've given you some ideas for adventures. And if you weren't, I hope I've inspired you to come and visit this beautiful place I call home.
Host Laura Bain, producer Wendy Purvis, videographer Andrew Pickup, additional camera operators Mark Hammond, Hannah Giffen, editor Andrew Pickup, field audio Corey Sewell, media accessibility specialist Simone Cupid, audio post Mark Phoenix, graphics Mike Smith, senior producer Michelle Dudas, president and CEO David Arrington, copyright 2020 Accessible Media Inc.